Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. 28th of October 2024 marked an important chapter in India's defence production capabilities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the President of the Government of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, inaugurated India's first private military transport aircraft production plant in Vadodara in Gujarat. Now, this landmark initiative, part of the Make in India project in the aviation sector, is jointly developed by Tata Advanced Systems and Airbus Spain. The foundation stone of the facility was laid by Prime Minister Modi in October 2022. It is now ready for the production of C-295 aircraft, which is used for tactical transport of the troops. At the inauguration, Prime Minister Modi underlined that it's a big boost to India-Spain cooperation, adding that India is attaching topmost priority to defence manufacturing, and this is being noted globally. The Prime Minister also held productive discussions with the President of the Government of Spain, taking stock of the progress in India-Spain relations across diverse sectors, also expressing hope to add even more momentum in our bilateral ties. So what are the areas in which India and Spain can collaborate further to strengthen relations? How is the current visit of Mr. Pedro Sanchez, the President of the Government of Spain, going to add momentum in ties? Also, is the collaboration between Tata Advanced Systems and Airbus Spain the beginning of a new chapter in India's defence and space industry? We'll get perspectives on all of this and much more from two distinguished guests who join us on the broadcast. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Sheetal Sharma, Associate Professor, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and joining us virtually is former Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on the broadcast today. Dr. Sharma, to begin the program, and before we proceed to talking about, how this visit of the Prime Minister of Spain is going to add momentum to our ties, a very basic question. While I was reading up about his maiden visit to India, I found a disparity in how he's being addressed. So at some places, he's being called the Prime Minister of Spain. At the others, he's being referred to as the President of the Government of Spain. Help us and our viewers understand first about the difference in which, in the manner in which he's being addressed.
Tina, it might sound very confusing because some way it's published as Prime Minister and
right.
Somewhere it's President. But both are correct, however, in the sense that he is the head of the administration. So he is called as Prime Minister of Spain. So we address him as Prime Minister of Spain in that respect. However, the President, the way we use the term President is also not wrong, because he is also called as President of the Government of Spain, which is more than the administrative capacity and as a notional title that has been given to the office that he occupies. And it is not surprising that people have done this as a mistake in the past also, like in the previous US government, President Donald Trump also sometimes referred to him as President or Mr. President, which was an incorrect way to address Mr. President. However, it is very clear that when we call him as Prime Minister, we call him as Prime Minister of Spain, otherwise like Prime Minister of India, the counterpart Prime Minister of Spain. But when we talk of President, then we have to be very specific that we call him as President of the Government of Spain. That is the difference, and that is why the viewers must be very clear that both are correct, but the context in which we are addressing him as either Prime Minister or the President is somehow slightly different in that
Certainly.
sense.
So that's where I also got confused while I was reading up, and I thought I must ask this question for better clarity for our viewers as well who are watching. Ambassador, now I'll get a sense from you about this crucial visit of the Spanish Prime Minister to India. We saw the grand welcome that he was accorded by Prime Minister Modi in Vadodara, which was also his parliamentary constituency back in 2014 when he first contested. Tell us about how significant this is pertaining to the fact that A, it's his first personal visit to India. The second one being that in capacity of the head of state of Spain, this visit comes after a gap of nearly 2 decades, 18 years to be precise. So how significant is it in terms of adding new energy to the India-Spain relations?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tina, for having me on your show. And if you permit, I could, what my own understanding is, I could just add to what Dr. Sheetal Sharma has also mentioned about, before I respond to your questions.
Sure, Ambassador.
As to, what is the difference, meaning why is he addressed at times as the Prime Minister and as the President? I think one particular aspect to be noted here is that he is the head of government as far as Spain is concerned. The head of state of Spain is the king. So, there are two different institutions in every country. Like in our country, the head of government is the Prime Minister and the head of state is the President. So in that case also, so he is basically equated to the head of government, and the head of state, of course, is the King of Spain. So, but coming to your question, in terms of how important the visit is, I think it's a very important visit. As you said, coming 18 years after this, his first visit to India. He should have come to India last year also in September to participate in the G20 meeting. Spain is a permanent invitee, so to say. It is not one of the G20 economies, in terms of the size of the economies, but Spain has always been invited to all G20 meetings that have, that started taking place since 2009 when the international economic crisis struck.
Right.
But he was not able to come last year because he was down with COVID-19. So he had sent his first acting vice president and the foreign minister to represent Spain. This is a very important visit because Spain is a very important country in the European Union. I think we need to recognize that. We need, normally we take a look at the big countries, the big powers, whether it is Germany, it is France, it is UK. UK, of course, is not a member of the European Union, but it's a significant power as far as Europe is concerned, and Italy. So these are the four countries usually that are taken as the big players as far as Europe is concerned. But I think if we were to look at in terms of population, we were to look at in terms of the size of the economy, countries like Spain and countries like Portugal, Poland, they are very important countries also. And it is in that context, I think it is very welcome that Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is here in India to take forward the partnership. As Prime Minister Modi said in his opening remarks also, that there are many areas that bind the two countries together. And of course, democracy, rule of law, that is definitely there. But even in the area of challenges that the world is facing, whether it is to deal with the poverty, to deal with the disparity in the two countries, the world over, in fact, deal with the climate change that has come about, that is an existential threat as far as the world is concerned. So these are areas where the two countries can collaborate. And of course, the iconic aspect of the visit today has been the inauguration of the Tata Aircraft Systems Limited and Airbus Spain, and they have come together to, on this $2.5 billion.
Right, Ambassador, we'll talk about the defense and strategic partnership in just a bit, but coming back to Dr. Sharma to understand further on what Ambassador said in our relations with bigger economies in Europe. Just a day before, I was discussing the India-Germany relations with two other experts. Today, we are talking about, the India-Spain relations. The question here is, in two heads of state visiting India, and the focus largely has been defense and strategic partnership. But also, because both of these countries have had good relations with China as well. Explain to us and our viewers this new focus on the new India from two of these European countries.
Tina, that's excellent. How do we plot multiple, places or multiple things at the same time, on a similar global chessboard? Now, let us understand this relationship from three perspectives. I'll take from micro to macro level. The first one is India-Spain bilateral relationship, which is between the two countries. The next one I would place, as Ambassador Saab was saying, in the European Union, that how India relates to European Union and Spain being one of the important countries in the European Union. And then the third one, at the global level. And at the global level, again, we have two aspects of it. One is Spain and India being member of G20. and then the other regional configurations all over the world or regional organizations, and then in general where China also exists as one of the important players in the changing global order. Now, how do we see? At the micro level, if I say that India-Spain bilateral relations, we have always been having very warm, cordial relationship. There is no historical baggage. We can say that there are no points of differences or disagreement over many of the things which tend to be a source of conflict or a friction between two countries. So, one is a very cordial relationship, warm relationship between the two countries, although of course we have not been able to press the pedal to the fullest as much as we should have been doing, but something which is very warm and good. The next thing is that despite the fact that there is no historical baggage, we have not been able to galvanize the potential in terms of it is explored, underexploited would not be a right word, but still there is a lot of scope for us to add fuel to the fire of this relationship. The second is Spain as being member state of the European Union. And now in the global or the changing world order, European Union happens to play an important role collectively also, and the individual member states of the European Union as well. And within that, if we talk of Spain being an important trading partner of India, although once again I would say that somewhere around 8.5 to 10 billion euro, 10 billion USD is not a big quantum of trade that we see between the two countries, and nevertheless there is scope which would be utilized in future as well, and we are working towards it. But European Union as a regional organization is important because European Union is also occupying the global high table along with the member states such as Germany, France and UK and all other. Right. So one is that. The third one is that the global order, we being almost the voice of the global south in G20 and Spain being member of it, Spain in the sense that how do we interact, how do we bridge the gap between the vast population of the global south and the rich countries of the global north, that developing and developed. So underdevelopment is out of question now because the theories have gone out of fashion of underdevelopment, but we are the leaders of the developing world, almost trying to reach up to the standard that in few years or few decades we will be developed countries. So how do we bridge that gap and how do we voice the concerns of the global south? In that capacity, it is very important for India to act at these 3-4 levels: the bilaterals between the countries, the frameworks of the regional organization or the groupings. They give us an added advantage to come close and negotiate on many things, because then you have institutional frameworks within which we operate. And at the global level also, despite the fact that India independently, China or India, Germany, Spain or other countries for that matter, even US, which perceives China to be a strategic rival, but despite the fact that we have our different dynamics between us, China is an important factor, or sometimes you can't ignore China as an important factor playing. But despite that fact that China is existing in the global order, the independent or individual bilateral relations are very important, because they tend to define the future course of the action between the two countries, and how do they determine then the future relationship of not just your bilaterals, but also the groupings of which you are part of. So European Union, G20 or global order, whatever you may say, it is important to see that how the dynamism unfolds and how it is advantageous for both the entities involved in it.
Okay. Ambassador, I'll take a related question. When we are talking about these similar visits we've seen, just a day before, it was the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz who was in India. He was accompanied by a large business delegation, but that's something I'll discuss in the next round. What's the common factor here is the focus has been on defense and strategic partnership. With Germany, we have a strategic partnership since 2000. With Spain as well. Today's event and today's inauguration of this facility also is a milestone. The similarity here is that are we in Europe looking beyond France, with whom we already have a strong and robust defense and military and strategic partnership? Are we looking beyond France and diversifying our basket when it comes to defense and strategic deals? And we are now looking towards also Germany and Spain. And interestingly, both countries are also in contention for a key submarine deal, which is in the pipeline, sir.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is there is competition and there is collaboration, because what we are doing here as far as Spain is concerned, as you said right at the beginning, Tina, was that there is going to be this manufacture, there is going to be this assembly plants being set up in Vadodara, that we get first 16 units off the shelf in flying condition from Seville in Spain, and the next 40 are going to be assembled here and parts are going to be manufactured here. So this is going to be one of the first private sector initiatives, private sector ventures of Make in India and Make for the World programs, defense sector. And I think this is important, as you very correctly referred to what was discussed during the visit of Chancellor Scholz. But I would say that, I think the place that Germany has occupied as far as the mind space of India is concerned, in terms of whether it is the economic and commerce, even in terms of scale. If you look at it, you have about 2,000 German companies in India. As compared to that, as far as Spain is concerned, the scale is much lower. It is about 200 companies or something. So I think Germany has been present in India for a long time. Possibly what I could say is that Spain is moving on the same path that Germany has treaded quite some time ago. So, Germany could really be as a role model as far as Spain is concerned. And also, I would say in this context that Germany is located right bang in the center of Europe. And in that context, Spain is to an extent located on the suburbs or to the periphery. Now here, as far as Germany is concerned, whether it was its relations with Russia in terms of import of oil and gas, in terms of how it gets impacted by the Russia-Ukraine conflict, what is happening to Germany is much closer, at home. It feels it much closer at home than Spain would be feeling. Also, I think we need to look at that Spain was an economy that was really impacted very hard by the, the sovereign debt crisis of 2010, which followed the international economic and financial crisis of 2007, 2008, the subprime mortgage lending crisis that started from the United States. So Spain was one of those countries, in addition to Greece, Ireland, and Spain, Portugal, and to an extent Italy also. But it has, and its youth unemployment was at a very, very high level. But I think it is kudos to Spain that it has been able to emerge out of the challenges that it faced. And it is coming and making its own statement on the global scale. We've seen how Spain has been acting as far as the Israel-Hamas conflict is concerned, Israel-Lebanon conflict. I will not go into that in great detail, but on the other hand, it is being standing steadfast. President Pedro Sanchez has been standing steadfast in support of Ukraine. So I think there are similarities and there are differences as far as the approach of both Germany and Spain is concerned.
You're right. In fact, I remember when I was speaking to Ambassador Gurjeet Singh about the India-Germany relations, Dr. Sharma, this point did come up that despite India and Germany having a strategic partnership since 2000, it's been 24 years, we are entering 25th year of the strategic partnership, our relations have not been maximized to the fullest because we've been on divergent sides and we've had divergent views on specific matters, the most recent being on the Russia-Ukraine one. And of course, both sides are working towards, more convergence on these issues. Do we also have similar disparities, or are we on differing opinions when it comes to Spain as well?
Not really. That's why I said there's not much of the historical baggage in terms of how we look at the global, events that are happening and deciding the nature of alignments or relationships. For that matter, what is very important for us, Tina, is to have that strategic autonomy to look above, the individual relationships that exist either between Russia, Germany, or China, US, or we are not shadowed by what kind of relationships are existing between the other two countries and how do we relate independently with these two. Coming to Spain particularly, there has not been any specific irritant, what I would say, other than something that we can recall as denying of visa to the one of the sporting event, some of the people in the boxing. So that's the only thing that I can recall in the recent past. Other than that, the relationship has been cordial, all through in the sense that how do we look at the world. The similar sentiment has been expressed by Prime Minister of Spain as well in reflecting upon the concerns about the Ukraine war.
From the context of trade and investments, trade, the number is around $10 billion. That's the 2023 number. Give us a sense of some of the prominent areas in which India and Spain are collaborating. Also, some of the areas which have potential, which both sides can look forward to when we are talking about enhancing our relations.
Yes, and there's another way to understand this trade potential is that, a lot happens on the basis of perception. I would not say that everything happens on the basis of perception, but few things are, driven by how do we perceive the other entity. Say, for instance, the Germans are known for their innovation, their technique, and their refinement in technique, and all of us, right from, the aspiration of Indian middle class or moving upper class, we know them by Audi, Mercedes, and BMWs running on our road. So there is a kind of perception that we have towards the country in terms of technology, innovation, likelihood of coming together, converging, learning from them, the models that we can adopt. Spain suffered to a certain extent by this economic downturn, as Ambassador Saab was referring to, and PIGS being those 5 countries. And yes, of course, unemployment rate at a particular point of time could have gone almost a quarter of 100. But very interestingly, Spain has bounced back, and in 2021 they posted a growth of 6.1%, which is very impressive post-COVID recovery, that too from the downturn that they had faced. But now it's again around 2.3 to 2.4. So what is there for us to find in Spain particularly? And this particular inauguration of this Airbus facility is a combination of 2 things. One is that, yes, of course, we are looking at from the defense and strategic perspective that we are being more independent. We are diversifying our basket and reliance for such things on not just single country or multiple ones. But at the same time, this is also addressing some of the flagship programs of the government now. It's not just one term or the second term, they are in the 3rd term now. And Make in India, skill development, and all these things are going to be addressed by. What is beauty of the European countries is that all of them independently and collectively also, they all specialize in certain areas. Areas, say for example, in railways, we have potential to explore the supply of Talgo coaches, which are very efficient in terms of efficiency, design, delivery, and all those things. So there is a possibility for us to collaborate in the field of science and technology, in terms of innovation, in terms of refinement of technology, and all other things. I would talk about renewable energy, climate. These are going to become some of the real time for concerns for economies such as India in future. Yes, of course, we are developing, we are matching up with the developed countries, but some of these things are going to raise their head, or these are going to be real time concerns in future 10 years from now or 20 years from now. So in order to address these challenges, number one, in order to look for expertise in the flagship programs,
right,
of mission of our development, Atmanirbhar Bharat, what we see in 2047, and also being part of or also an attractive place for investment, an emerging economy world cannot just ignore us. India is there, India has arrived on the global stage. So all these 3 things collectively or in combination, they tend to give us a very fertile ground for any country to come and have good relations with us.
Certainly, and that's an interesting aspect which was also mentioned in the itinerary of the Spanish Prime Minister. Ambassador, we saw the German Chancellor being accompanied by a large business delegation who met our Prime Minister as well. The Prime Minister of Spain is also going to Mumbai, and there he is scheduled to meet a number of business chiefs. So while there are a significant number of Spanish companies here in India, but tell us about some of the new investment opportunities that they are now looking to invest in this new India that the Prime Minister keeps talking about, some of the business opportunities which can be beneficial for both India and Spain.
Yeah, that's a very important question because, as we've been talking and as Dr. Sheetal Sharma also has very rightly referred, that while the relationship has been cordial and it has been warm and friendly, but, if I could put it this way, that the oomph in the relationship has been lacking, that has been missing. That energy, that excitement, that has been lacking. And I think that is a possibility that could come now because it's good for both the countries. The Prime Minister visited Spain in 2017. 2018, on the sidelines of the G20, Prime Minister Sanchez and Prime Minister Modi met. 2021 also. So the discussions have been going on. And even as far as the C295 deal is concerned, that was visualized, that was agreed to earlier, and then now it is coming to fruition. So the point is that there is huge potential. While we have been sort of, moving along at an even pace, but the potential has been enormous. And as far as India is concerned, the manner in which it has grown, fastest growing major economy from the 10th largest to the 5th largest today, become the 3rd largest, as the managing director of the IMF says, the ray of hope in an otherwise gloomy global economic environment. So I think India is a very promising partner for all these countries. And as far as Spain is concerned, as we've been discussing, as it is coming out of these rummages of the impact of both COVID as well as the economic crises that have bedeviled it earlier. So I think it is also looking for opportunities. So here, what are the areas in which India has made advances and where India is looking at, gaining ground? Of course, the digital public infrastructure comes immediately to mind.
Right.
And there are, whether it is quantum computing, robotics, it is green energy, it is green technology, it is space, it is even in the area of strategic cooperation where, even as far as Germany is concerned, since we were talking a little bit about Germany, there has not been too much of intense interaction between the two sides. So here also there is a possibility for Spain to come. Spain, of course, was in the Asian region till about 1898 in the Philippines, when it was moved out from there by the Americans. But, it has had that linkage with the Asia Pacific, the Indo-Pacific. So I think that is also an area where the two countries could look at taking the relationship forward. So it is, of course, economy, it is investment, it is commerce, it is trade, it is technology, definitely, it is climate change, but it is also in terms of the turmoil and turbulence that is taking place in the global arena. Where is it that India and Spain can work together, can
Absolutely,
cooperate?
Ambassador. One important aspect that Ambassador missed, and perhaps I would like to point out, is something that the Prime Minister mentioned, is the cultural connect, the cultural threads that bind, and which I believe is the bedrock of any relationship. The Prime Minister said it's yoga and football, but there are a lot of other things. In your view, what are some of these cultural aspects which both countries can work towards and strengthen in the times to come if they are to enhance their relationship to the next level?
Tina, very interesting that along with traditional diplomacy, we are now also talking about cultural diplomacy or people to people connect. And it, of course, is, much more intense and, brings warmth to any kind of relationship. Although if we talk about the number of people or Indian people of Indian origin or Indian diaspora in Spain, it's very small in percentage, less than 1%, I would say. And the figure stands somewhere less than 1 lakh people, that is not going to make much of a difference. But yet, very, very important is that there are two types of people currently who are working in Spain, One is the migrants, those who went from the Spanish colonies to Spain, of people of Indian origin. And the other one is the modern day, workers in the sense of those who are highly skilled in the field of IT, hospitality, finance and all these sectors. So there are people of Indian origin there. But interestingly, one thing that you talk about cultural aspect, and the Prime Minister of Spain is going to meet group of people from Bollywood industry. And one of the important, a major blockbuster, I think, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara was shot in Spain. And the cultural festivals like Bullfight and Tamatino, all these are etched in our psyche. And Bollywood is one of the places. After that, they had shown these places in the movie. Suddenly there was a rise in the number of people visiting Spain. So how do you see that, sometimes the cultural, both tangible and intangible aspects of culture, the value system and all these, of course, at value system in terms of democracy being, driven by the values, democratic values, liberalism, freedom, rule of law, all these things are important. But at the same time, some of the things like cultural elements of your culture, yoga,
You're right. And diplomacy
Bollywood,
is as much about soft power as it is about the hard
it's
power,
expanding
right?
its outreach in terms of connecting people through cuisine, through music, through films, and making Spain as a tourist place, attracting people from there to India. So the potential is very rich in exploring the mechanisms of cultural diversity or cultural diplomacy. So how do we connect people? And one thing very important, with Spain, we have been having cultural relations for a long period of time, but they have not been discussed so much. They have been underrepresented in our discussions and media and all that. So how can we infuse energy again into that is very important.
So let's hope how that momentum is renewed once again, that the Spanish Prime Minister is here in India. We saw a blockbuster day to day in terms of the manner in which he was welcomed, and he was hosted by the Prime Minister at one of the private resorts as well. So that's been a good start, and tomorrow when the Spanish Prime Minister is going to indulge in business meetings in Mumbai, he's also going to meet a group of Bollywood personalities. So be assured the diplomacy is working at both levels, the bilateral level as well as at these levels that Dr. Sharma just mentioned, which enhance the soft diplomacy power as well. But that having been said, I'll have to wind up the program. Time allows me to take up only that much on this edition of Perspective. Thank you, Ambassador and Dr. Sharma, for joining us on the program, sharing your thoughts with us and our viewers. Absolute pleasure to have you both on this edition of the program. And thank you to you viewers as well for your time.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.